Hi guys, I'm Kimberly from Kimberly's Gluten-Free Kitchen, and today I'm going to be doing for you a gluten-free bread review. There seems to be so many different brands that have come out in the past few years that sometimes it's hard to know which is the best one and which is the one to buy. When I was first diagnosed about 10 years ago, there was a couple brands that you could find in the stores, and mostly Whole Foods, but they were awful. They were so bad, I would have rather eaten cardboard. So I really started making my own bread, but after I had kids, after my kids were born, it really wasn't an option for me to spend so much time making bread for myself. So I needed to find a brand that I could buy, that I could have available to have on hand when I needed to make a sandwich or something like that. And so I've really gone out and I've tried a lot of different brands over the years. And so I have a pretty good idea of what's out there and what's good and what's not good. So today I have a lot of the brands that I do like. I have them here with me. I'm going to be talking about them and going over them so you have a better idea before you go out and buy them. Gluten-free bread is very expensive, so to buy a loaf of bread and to hate it and to end up throwing it away is a big expense. So I'm here today to give you a little bit more information before you go out and buy a bunch of different brands to test for yourself. So the first brand that I'm going to be talking about is Udi's Gluten-Free. Now, Udi's is one of my favorite brands. It was really one of the first brands that came out with an edible bread. It really revolutionized my life because before that the breads had been just awful. They were pretty much inedible, and I remember when my mom brought home a loaf of Udi's for me. She brought it for me, and she was like, "You have to try this. It's amazing." And just one bite, not even toasting it or anything, it was life-changing. It was amazing. It was just softer and more pliable than anything I had ever felt. Most of the gluten-free breads, you like break it and it would just crumble, or you try to pull it off the loaf because everything's frozen. You try to pull a piece of bread off the loaf and it would just fall apart everywhere. So Udi's was great. I've eaten a lot of Udi's sandwiches over the past few years. So I do recommend this brand. They have recently come out with a new bread. I haven't been able to find their old bread, and there have been a lot of mixed reviews about Udi's and their new bread. A lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it. This is the new bread that is available. It is delicious, soft, white sandwich bread, and it does have a different texture, definitely has a different texture, and I can see from every angle. People love it and people hate it, and really I'm kind of in the middle on it. I think that it does have a better texture because it's soft, it's pliable. I do have a piece right here. So this is the size bread that is Udi's. You can see that there's no holes in it, which can happen with a lot of gluten-free breads. The air bubbles get in it and it will leave big circles of emptiness. So it's really annoying when you have this tiny little piece of bread and half of it is taken up by a big air bubble. So, I haven't really had that problem with this bread. So that's a really big plus. You can see that it's really soft and pliable. It doesn't fall apart. It is squishy. If you push it, you can actually see my fingerprints in it, which is a good thing. It's like super soft. The one thing that I really don't like is that it kind of gummy in your mouth. It turns like almost into a paste. So that it's a more spongy it's more spongy texture. So that is something to think about. Also, I've heard a lot of people talk about the crust on it, how it tastes a little burnt, and it does have a different flavor to it. It's definitely a stronger flavor on the crust. So think about that when you want to buy it. I do recommend it. I like it, but it's not my favorite. So this bread, this Udi's bread, I found at the store for $4.99. So it's a $5 loaf of bread. It was on sale from $6. I found it at Sprouts. I can find this at Walmart, and I found this at my local grocery store. So it is easy to find. It is good. I know a lot of kids really like it because of the texture. So if you have kids, I will recommend this, and you don't have to toast it, which makes a huge difference, especially for kids and packing kids' lunches. So the next bread that I want to talk about is a store brand. It's from Sprouts, the farmer's market, and we have one right by us, and it's one of my favorite grocery stores to go into. It's great. There's so many different gluten-free items that you can find, and they've recently come out with their own gluten-free bread. I think it's good. I think it's a great option, and it looks like this. It is gluten-free and dairy-free, which is likely with most of the gluten-free breads that you can find are gluten-free and dairy-free. I know a lot of people can't eat dairy when they have celiacs. So it's a great option. It is soft, so this is what it looks like. And you can tell that most gluten-free breads are a lot smaller than its wheat counterpart. The bread is, if you've ever made gluten-free bread before, you know that it's just so much denser. So even if you use the same ingredient, like the same amount of ingredients that you use for a wheat-based bread, this bread is just gonna be smaller because the gluten is what really puffs it up and makes it that fluffiness. So the gluten-free bread is definitely gonna be smaller, and it's definitely gonna be more dense. This bread actually reminds me of the old Udi's bread. It's a lot more stiff than the new Udi's bread, but it's still really soft. It doesn't just fall apart. It holds its shape really well. The inside is really soft, and it has a good texture. It is more like that stale bread texture, but it's good. And it's really good if you toast it and eat it that way. But this is also definitely a good option for kids. It's not as soft, so it is gonna have a little bit more of that rough, sawdusty, fall apart in your mouth texture. But since I've been eating gluten-free bread for so long, I don't mind that anymore, really. And it's good for sandwiches and all of that. So I do recommend that. If you have other store brands next to you that carry their own gluten-free lines, I would invest and try the bread. It might turn out to be one of your favorites, and it might actually be a lot cheaper than the name brands that you can find. So this Sprouts brand bread was $4.49, which was, a lot cheaper than the Udi's brand. On sale, Udi's was $4.99, and that was a pretty good sale, and it doesn't happen all that often. Regularly, it is $5.99. So $4.49, I mean, it's still a good savings. It's still crazy expensive when you think about, the size loaf that you get when you buy a wheat bread, but it is what it is, and it's definitely more expensive. Okay, so the next brand I want to talk about is Schar. I don't even know how you pronounce it. But this is a big brand. You can really find this brand everywhere. I have a little Walmart, it's not even a super Walmart next to me, that always has this. It always has this white one, or it has a multi-grain one, which I like too. I do like this bread a lot. It's easy to find, it's easy to work with, but there are some downfalls with it. So this is the bread. straight from the loaf. So this is some of the problems that I have with this bread. The air bubble. This is a really small air bubble and really is no big deal. I have found a lot of this bread comes with really big air bubbles. Like it could be like half the size of the bread and it becomes worthless. What are you gonna do with, you know, a big giant hole in your bread when you're trying to make a sandwich or something or have a piece of toast? It becomes worthless. And I've also found, I don't know if you can see, but there's this darker line right here. And it's where the bread wasn't cooked all the way through. And this is not the first time that I found that in this type of brand. And it's not pleasant. It's super hard. It's super gummy. And it's just not really nice. So those are some pitfalls with this. But just being how accessible it is, it's really nice. The one thing I really like about that is the crust is really soft. It's really pliable. It doesn't just like crumble when you touch it. I wouldn't recommend eating it without toasting it though. It's good. It's pliable. It's soft. But it's just not something I would eat without toasting it. When it toasts, it's wonderful. I always toast my bread before I make a sandwich, even when I'm going out for a long period of time before I'm gonna eat it. If I go to like Disneyland or something, I will always toast my bread before I make the sandwich, and then it's still like hours before I'll eat it. It doesn't matter. It keeps it changes the texture. So even if it's not warm, the toasting, it changes the texture and it becomes a little bit nicer to eat. It also becomes really hard sometimes, but I just find that the texture changes and it gets rid of that sawdust texture in your mouth sometimes like when you eat it without being toasted, it like builds up in your throat a little bit and it like sometimes it's so dry it's hard to swallow. The toasting, it changes that. I would recommend this brand. It is a good one. It's good to have options. It's great for kids as well because of the soft crust and all of that. So it is a good option to have. So for the Schar bread, the usual price is $5.99 for a loaf. I found this bread on sale at Sprouts for $4.79. So that was a good deal, more than $1 off. You know, Walmart sometimes is a little bit cheaper, but it's usually about between $4 and $5 for this loaf that I find, which is, you know, expensive, but it's not as bad as a lot of the other ones. So the last brand that I want to talk about is Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free bread. Here it is. There's the logo. This one is Mountain White. They have a lot of different kinds. They have 7 grain. They have cinnamon raisin. They have lots of different bagels. They have hamburger buns. They have tons of, in their line of gluten-free breads. I highly recommend this. This is my favorite bread to get. I know a lot of Walmarts are starting to carry this brand, which is fantastic. And it's just a really, really great option. So this is what it looks like, pretty much the same as the other ones. The texture is really soft and really pliable. The crust is a little bit harder, but it has a really good flavor. It breaks open really nice and really holds its shape, and it's just really fluffy. I haven't had a lot of problems with air bubbles with this one, so it's really great. The texture is really good. It will hold up really well in a sandwich. I do toast this one as well. You can eat it without. Again, like if I'm, you know, out for a long time, toasting it is the best option for me. one of the things that I love, love, love. I try not to eat a ton of bread because I'm a woman in my 30s and who has time for that? But one of the things that I will splurge on is these bagels. They are heaven, heaven. Used to love bagels before I was diagnosed. And since like really nothing has fulfilled that. I've tried making my own. I've tried so many brands of bagels and just nothing. A lot of different brands of bagels, they have just like plain, like nothing. These are, they do have a plain version, which is okay. But these everything bagels are so good. So good. They are like almost too good and I can't buy them because I eat them all. But I do recommend this if you're looking for a good bagel. These are amazing. Okay, so even though I love this brand so much, the one drawback is that it's the most expensive. Of course it's the most expensive. But I'm hoping that since more Walmarts are gonna be stocking it, that the prices will be a little bit better. For this loaf of bread, the price is $6.49, which is crazy. Almost $7 for a loaf of bread is insane. Thankfully, I'm the only one that eats gluten-free in my family, and I don't eat a ton of bread all the time, so I don't have to buy it that often, but crazy, $6.49. For the bagels, for 4 bagels, it's $5.99. So it's like more than $1 bagel. It's crazy. But they are worth it. Every once in a while, I will splurge and get them, and they make my life so happy. So I hope that you found the information on this video helpful. I hope that you have a little bit more information when you're out going and buying gluten-free bread, so you'll help you, stretch your money a little bit further and help you not to be disappointed in the bread that you buy. Just remember to, always have a toaster on hand when you're ready to eat your gluten-free bread, and make sure that it's your own toaster. It's a specific gluten-free toaster because you don't want to get any cross-contamination with another toaster if anybody in your family eats wheat bread. So you want to make sure that you have separate toaster when you're eating your gluten-free bread, so that you can stay as healthy as possible. Also, I really want to hear from you. I want to know what your favorite breads are. I want to know, what works for you and what doesn't. I really want to hear from you and your opinions. Also, if you have any other brands that you love, I know that there's so many brands out there, but these are really my favorite and really my go-tos. And so I wanted to break it down for you about what I eat and what I love. But I am open to new suggestions, and I want to hear from you about what your favorites are. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I want to keep sharing my knowledge with you so that you can live your healthiest, best life. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you back next time.